Dick Clark. You remember Dick Clark? He's the man that never aged. He was 40, he looked 40. When he was 60, he looked 40. When he was 80, he looked 40. I mean, what's the deal? I'm sorry, I've got an ant on my hand. What's the deal with Dick Clark not aging? I mean, some people say that about me. I hear people all the time look at me and say, you do not look 90. Yeah, I agree with them. I don't look 90. But today is my birthday. But Dick Clark, he led American Bandstand, which was a weekend show about the top 40, and it was a dance party. And it was so popular amongst teenagers. This is way before online. He was on TV, if anybody remembers TV, and Getting Your Rabbit Ears just right. But there was another DC, not just Dick Clark, but another DC that came along. And he wasn't in New York or LA. No, his music was based in Motor City, USA, Detroit City, Motown, R&B, soul, great root music, and his name was Don Cornelius. Now, Don Cornelius, he was the epitome of cool. If you don't know Don Cornelius, you need to go to YouTube and put in Don Cornelius and just see how cool that guy was. He took cool lessons from me, not. But you know what? I love the name of his show. The name of his show was Soul Train. I love that. Soul Train. In other words, you come here and get your soul on a journey to go somewhere, and everybody enjoyed Soul Train because it was a movement kind of thing. It started a new movement, and it was very popular. I'm not sure if it was ever as popular as American Bandstand, but that matters not to this discussion, because I like the name Soul Train. Because see, that's what I want to create. I want to create a soul train that you and I are experiencing week by week by week, sometimes even day by day by day, where we can develop our soul from the inside out, our life from the inside out, centering in the real us, the eternal us, and our soul. Now, when we're born again, our spirit comes alive and it can feed our soul. If we don't have that, then our soul can only be fed from the outside, intellectually, sensually, informationally. That's where we get our guidance for life. But there's a different guidance system on the inside from the spirit of man that is designed and in the image of God, the great spirit, that God is a spirit, and those that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. But going back to Soul Train, when you're on a journey, you want to go in a methodical way that you know you're going to get somewhere. And that's what we are attempting to do here with this soul train, the soul journey, the epic soul journey, so that we can know that we are making progress with the development of our souls. You know my favorite theme verse, you probably know it by now if you've ever heard me. It is this, he says, Gaius, above all things, this is John that wrote this, near the end of the New Testament, he wrote 3 letters. This is the 3rd letter to his friend Gaius. And he said, above all things, I wish that you would prosper. That word prosper means to be successful and move ahead. Listen to this. Even as your soul prospers. He wants you to be ahead and be in health, even as your soul prospers. So there's a thing about prospering your soul, prospering our soul. In other words, having a soul journey, a soul train. Now, the children of Israel, they didn't quite get the journey right. They left they left Egypt from being slaves. They were freed. That's a whole story in itself that we can look at another time. But here they are in the desert for 40 years. And they were given the law. God said, this is the way you can move faster. You can move more securely. You can move more confidently. And they just didn't get it. They were more wrought by fear than faith. So he had to come along and give them the law the second time. That's called Deuteronomy. It's a whole book in the Old Testament. And I want to take you to a verse in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 9, and I'm going to read it for you if you don't mind. It says this, take heed to yourself. In other words, pay attention to yourself. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to learn to pay attention to yourself. Pay attention to your inside life. This is what God is saying. I'm only repeating what God is saying here. I'm not giving you any new information that is some 21st century wow. I'm telling you the ancient truth of the ages that's been here from the ancient of days. He says, pay attention to yourself and listen diligently. That means you not only pay attention, but you come up with a plan and you stick to the plan. You diligently keep your soul. Some versions say self, but the word for self there is the word that is also translated soul or life, the very essence of who you are. Diligently keep the very essence of who you are. Man, pay attention to yourself. Look at this. Lest you forget the things your eyes have seen and they depart from your heart all the days of your life. I don't want you to forget what's important. I want you to know what's important. I want you to hold on to what's important. I want you to pay attention to what's important, and I want you to stay with me on the soul train. Happy birthday to me. See you next time right here on the Daily.